Hey, morning.
Just the guys I wanted to see. I got stopped on the way in and asked if I could ask you to set up a PowerPoint projector this morning for the council meeting.
For this one right now?
Yeah.
I don't know if we have the right cable.
We might have to just run back quick to the shop.
Yeah, okay, so
That's the projector.
that's a projector, but it doesn't have HDMI. And this doesn't have VGA.
Oh, it doesn't. Only HDMI.
I have two computers in my office that we were shopping around for people to try, and a little HDMI cable. Bring them in and see if that would help.
It's the projector, it doesn't have an HDMI.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's this projector. I've been talking with Josie. We're trying to find something to replace this with when we get it. So we'll run back quick. It should take us like 5 minutes to go grab your projector and bring it over.
Okay, sorry about that, guys.
No problem. So what is it streaming to? I guess we can
stream straight to YouTube. So usually what I do is I shift everybody over. Okay, let's go grab a projector.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing okay, thank you. Well, good morning,
Good
Bill.
morning, all. Haven't seen you in a while. Missed you.
Yeah, how you doing?
Nobody has coffee with me or anything anymore. I'm just a neglected little guy.
Oh, goodness
I'm
sakes.
feeling sorry for myself.
Oh.
I don't think it's that bad. But I do miss seeing you.
Yeah, I miss seeing you
I bet
too.
you've been up to all kinds of stuff. How was the Rotary Friday?
It was nice.
I bet you.
Yeah, the weather was good.
Yes, wasn't it? First time in 100 years I wasn't there, but
Yeah. Yeah, we were down on attendance or enrollment or whatever you want to call
yeah,
it.
right.
What's this? We got new.
Whiteboards or something?
Yeah. I haven't noticed that there before.
I guess the screen comes down from the ceiling or something.
Yeah. They had me blocked in my garage this morning.
Uh-oh.
They were pressure washing the
something?
outside,
Yeah.
and evidently had gone out for coffee and left these machines smack dab in the middle of my garage
Oh,
door.
Lord.
So by the time I moved it and moved the hoses and his pails.
So things fairly quiet around here.
As far as I know, I haven't been around much.
I don't hear much.
No.
Which is gets us good.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's Jerry?
He's doing okay.
Good, good.
Yeah. Did you have a good time up in Maine?
Yeah, we always do, but you know, it's like you guys knew from your last house. There's always so much to do around the house,
Yeah.
particularly on the ocean. Well, good morning, Madam President.
Good morning.
Morning. How's everybody?
Well, thank you.
Good.
I'd make note of a little small thing that you've done that really is eye-catching this morning. Painting your chairs orange out on the deck.
They came that way.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been that way.
They came
Yeah, I
that
know, I've
way.
seen it before.
They're a gift from Mike Riley. He said, you don't have enough orange on the balcony. Those things are $750 each. And I'm like, money? $1,500 for 2 chairs?
Really?
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So he said, I got just the chairs for you. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Wow.
By the way, we're going to the gala tomorrow, and you graciously agreed to foot the bill with us on that for $1,500.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
we got a table. We went over goal
Okay.
in a week.
Great.
We raised $15,000 in a week. So, actually, we may be able to. We raised over that. We may not need the full 15. We may need 1,000.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Just send it into the foundation?
Yes. So the president, Kyle Tuttle, now is the president of Lane Construction. He'll be with us.
Mhm.
He's $4,500 in. The president of Shumatsu is $5,000 in, and I haven't met him yet. I met his people yesterday. The president of QCO will be there.
Okay.
It's quite the table to put it on. Okay. Thank you guys for doing this. Sorry for the late
No, it's all right.
request.
What is this event?
I'm going to fill everybody
okay.
in. It's
I'll wait.
It's the Chancellor's inauguration on Friday, and she's doing a fundraising gala the night before. And it's $15,000 a table. And she said to all the presidents,
Projector should be able
if
to
you,
sit kind
whatever
of
money
like
you
behind
raise,
the laptop,
will come back to the
hopefully.
campus.
I was just going to ask you
Right.
that.
So all the
See how much
presidents were
power
moaning and said, and I'm like, you're not thinking strategically. So we put out a call.
Oops, sorry.
We raised $15,000, which is going to come back to us. But now the chancellor can say to the world, look how much SUNY raised for my inauguration. Because there's 400. Yes, smart. But SUNY Albany, which is kind of funny, SUNY Albany and Hudson Valley are sharing the table.
Oh, you're kidding.
I'm not, right, I think we're the only ones. Full sponsor. Right. Good morning.
Oh. SUNY Albany?
The only problem with that might be, I guess they don't need the money from the state.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
people are not strategic, Phil. They're not thinking.
I understand.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that interesting?
I can't believe SUNY Albany is actually
I know.
their
I would think-
foundation.
And they're
picked that
the
up.
college in the same city.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I know.
Exactly. Good
Anyway,
morning.
Good morning.
No, it's not great.
today is Wear Orange Wednesday.
Just
Oh, is it?
do
Wow.
this
I
and
didn't
add
get
it,
the memo.
add it to
Well,
your
yeah, you
tape.
got a little on. I've got some on too.
What do you mean a little? It's subtle. The president has to be subtle.
How you doing, Phil?
That's fine with me.
How's Maine?
Always good, thank you. Always a lot of work.
So here's your completed book,
Thank you.
but I'll need it back
Oh,
so that I can copy this for anybody else who wants stuff done.
Listen, it's
Because
pretty fancy
everything
here
in
now.
here is what we.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one's HDMI, so it's gonna have better clarity.
If you're gonna watch a
I
movie,
will.
I'll show
I mean,
you
I
all have to
saved
see
it.
Bring
I've
So I
asked
can
John to
easily
do the
make copies.
presentation he did.
So but I made copies of a bunch of
I asked
stuff,
John to
because there's new stuff in here.
Okay.
So,
all right.
And there's new tabs in it.
So he's gonna show you. Yeah.
Okay?
I mentioned this
Okay.
at,
Excuse
the
me?
RNC met here yesterday, so I mentioned that we were.
How are you, Linda?
Yeah, so he's gonna.
So I'm gonna turn
Some
this
sort of
on.
laryngitis.
A lot of people are sick.
Yeah,
I'll tell you,
absolutely.
so.
You didn't have
I
a
am
fighting.
No, it came on
Good.
yesterday and it just laid me flat. I slept all day.
You all right?
My goodness.
Well, I feel okay, but I do sound a bit
You
hoarse.
didn't come in with your energy this morning. It just.
That's very good, yes.
You know, a lot of people are getting sick.
Move over one way.
My daughter.
Yeah.
Lives
Slide
in-
over.
Well, I like to have cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll remember that.
She developed pneumonia from
When
you hit
respiratory infection,
We'll find out
and the doctor
Yes.
said
Okay.
she had the respiratory
We're ready for
infection.
Bring up the PowerPoint, we'll hit
And,
minimize this.
They
It'll
had
stop
had
it.
3 days
They
to
close
go
this
Body
to stop
from
the
the
stream.
virus in Canada.
So we gotta hit start
Really?
stream, minimize it, bring up their
We
PowerPoint,
did it all.
leave,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
can stop
Yeah.
it themselves.
Yeah, the son,
Okay.
the son developed.
So that's why you don't wanna hide.
Who had his son started pneumonia, so.
Good morning. No.
Hi, Susan. How are
You
you?
agree.
Yeah.
Do you know where the PowerPoint is?
John is,
The PowerPoint.
he'll be bringing it.
John will be bringing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go get him.
Thank you.
Yeah,
This
Madam President. Here, I would imagine that others are gonna bring theirs.
How are you? I forgot mine, sorry.
Dr. Ronald Scott, Chair of the Board of Council. Hi, Cheyenne.
Bob?
Yes, I did. I took my quiz.
How's Bob?
Doing pretty well.
This projector is so much better than that cable.
Oh, okay.
It is.
Getting all your hair done?
Sure. Okay, I might go sit down.
Oh, you made it.
Yeah, I took my quiz
That
earlier.
bad, just when you barely get
I'm doing that back.
That's good.
Good morning.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Phil.
Hi, Phil.
Who's this?
What's up?
You want to
Just
see
keep
it?
it my hand this week.
Well,
I came down.
I don't know if it's
Well,
Your usual.
We got pink. Come on.
That just looks kind of like really
Oh, I like
What you wish for.
I slept in your yard.
Matt Barney just told me that.
Yeah.
Matt Barney.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I know all of it, so you'll be fine. I just saw her party.
But they still need people that way.
Yeah.
Roast today.
It's gloomy.
So I'm
You just
doing
met
what
Cheyenne or
you're
just-
doing.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't even get all that much.
You know what I mean?
I mean, we got
I did, Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
We're there yet, they said
What?
I haven't had to show up.
Oh,
I know all the
Do you own a farm?
Well, I have had several times.
Oh.
At 80, I don't do that anymore.
You're right, I wouldn't either.
But yeah, I have several times.
follow.
I'm in a crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're cow. So am I. Yeah, I worked at a bee farm for a couple of years.
Whereabouts is that?
Thunderbee Farm, Sullivan County. 2 hours south of Sullivan.
Yeah, no, I'm Sullivan County.
Oh,
I think I've
it's
seen it in the country club.
yeah, it's in like Neverson. Here in Neverson, near Monticello, yeah. I didn't have a clue before going to the farm.
Morning.
When I
Hi.
heard the farm was
Doing well.
a
How
mile
about
away
you?
from me, I was like, oh,
Good,
there.
good.
I grow cattle, and it was really
I wanted to work one side.
So that's
Abbreviated.
I'm gonna pull it right off there for you.
Perfect. It says count, it says count.
You might as well sit here. Okay.
I do,
Sure.
just to keep you awake.
Come on.
Say, get to meet everyone.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
John's the Herrick. It's so
Yes.
nice to meet you.
Susan Reitmeyer, John.
Susan.
Come around.
Yeah.
So Cheyenne is part of our council.
Yeah, it's just like a background thing.
It's still installing.
John's the Herrick.
Well,
How are you?
oh,
Yeah. Good. All right.
Oh,
That's right. That's right.
Go ahead and open up his PowerPoint.
yes.
Because you haven't started the stream yet.
I wanna get it out here.
There you go. You always have to represent.
Make sure you open it. Don't just pull it. Make sure you
Susan, what is the agenda? Do you have any?
Oh, yes.
Original presentation. I'll try not to duplicate too much.
I don't
but this
know.
is
You
gonna
think it's gonna be one of the updates where it restarts once it's done?
You've
That's
already
not
seen
good.
the full movie.
I don't know if it's one of the updates where it restarts afterwards.
Nothing force restarts ever. You have to hit yes, I want to restart.
And they're not gonna go yes on
Everyone.
It's loading up right now.
Irene, sit here.
Oh, yes.
You can't be sitting over there. Sit here. I'll sit over here.
No, I don't mind sitting there.
You can't write.
You can put me in the corner.
The best,
Yes, we're just gonna have to turn a little bit.
I mean, next time, no, I know. You know, I can do my projector.
Work with what you got when you got it.
Do it like
You did a better job than I did.
Oh, yeah, you know, she did a good job, just the way they are.
Do you want me
I
to
know
go?
you on our list or something, you get an email. Well,
We can
picture.
squeeze in.
Everything
Yeah.
I'm part of a group.
Oh yeah, I just started.
I've never.
I'm just gonna leave it there.
Oh, I saw it.
And this is processor.
Olive, who is
Yes.
Ann coming? I know that Tracy's not
No,
coming.
Tracy's not coming on. As far as I know, Eric's supposed to be here. Barbara said she was
She
coming.
said she is.
I don't know anything about him.
No, that's heard from Ann.
This has a directional.
So we still could have two more.
Or
Yes.
even just the new webcam to have like better mics on.
I want you to join the table.
Council members have.
Saving paper.
I slipped right in.
So where'd she come from, right? Okay, there you go.
Yep, and it's already streaming. So whenever it's done, you just have to stop it.
Okay, so are we on now? Are we live right now?
Yep, it's just rolling. Would you like us to wait?
No, are we right? Because we're rolling right now. We're streaming right now.
The stream is live. I just minimized it, yeah. But it's
Good,
there.
perfect. So when John's done, I just get out of the PowerPoint, just end the slideshow.
Yep, so let me just show you real quick. So,
How are you?
and then right down here is this
Thank
icon.
you.
Oh,
When you
okay,
click this,
perfect.
there's the streaming, you just click stop.
Perfect.
And then we'll be back right after to get all of
She
this.
said that Eric was.
He is coming.
Yes, but I thought you saw him.
There wasn't.
3 to 5.
Okay, thanks, guys.
I mean, that's
Much appreciated.
8 hours.
This is important.
See you
We
later.
don't do that in this summer at all.
Yeah, ready when you are,
There's
boss.
Barb. So we still have 3 more people.
Just to let you know, we're streaming live already.
Crazy, I know.
Bonnie, you okay back there for right now?
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Barb.
Barb, can you? We'd like you to sit back here right now so you can see the presentation. Then we'll slip you back into the table, okay?
That's fine.
We thought it important that everybody here.
Also, you don't have my hair on the screen.
Yeah. Well, I can have you sit here, but you don't want to. Actually, you know, Barb, you could sit here right now.
I've done
Because it's not on right now. I mean, it's streaming, but.
Oh, I'll take that.
That's fine.
Please sit, and then when we go back to streaming, we'll slide you.
Okay, you sure?
I put moral support next to you, John.
Pardon?
I put moral support
Good,
next to you.
fantastic. And tomorrow we get to eat together.
right,
too.
so-
Oh my gosh.
Escalating quickly.
Okay, we're ready.
Trying to look for my name tag.
All right, I'd like to call the council to order, please. And first off, we're going to introduce our newest council member, and I'm going to ask Ann to do the honors.
Thank you very much so. This is Cheyenne Matulowicz. I practiced that. And Cheyenne is our new SGA president. She's a sophomore. And she's going to be filling you in on some of the good things they've already started doing in SGA.
Right now, yes, okay. Could I know your name real quickly, if that's okay?
Rich Schultz.
Rich Kennedy.
Susan Whitemeyer. Linda Cross.
Eric Stein.
John Zaharik.
Hi, John.
Barbara Brabbitz.
Hey, boss.
Hey. Oh, Olive, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Susan.
Yeah, and I'm Cheyenne. As I see that. If you can forget.
Say hello.
And you know Irene. You know,
And Amy is behind me.
Bonnie Martin.
Hi. Can I come up a little bit? So I just wanted to give like a little update on a conference that we went to called American.
Cheyenne, excuse me, would you give us a little background of yourself?
Yeah, oh, sure.
Okay.
I grew up in Queens, New York, so I'm from the city. But then I moved to a rural town in Sullivan County, or still known. Never think? Never heard of it?
Of course, Reservoir.
Yes. Beaver City, yeah. So I'm rural, part city. I went to Tri-Valley, I got really involved in the FFA, and that's how I knew about Cobleskill. So I wanted to be a lobbyist, I wanted to be a veterinarian, I wanted to be an astronaut. I still don't know what I want to be. But I'm finding it out, and business is where my heart lies. So my major is ag business, and we'll see where that takes me. I'm really involved in community engagement. So I'm a child of 6, and I have a twin.
You're a twin?
I have a twin. He's a boy, so it's not as cool, but.
We're twins.
Oh, you have a twin too?
I do.
President, look at us.
Wait a minute here. No, it's just me.
So yeah, thank you. That's a fun fact about me. But there's not really that much. No, I'm sure there's much more, but we'll learn about that during our time.
Well, let me add, because first of all, did you hear she's a sophomore? All right, so when I met her last year, she was a first-year student here and took the place by storm already. I've seen her in action quietly. She's a quiet leader as well as bold in her thinking. And when I found out that she was running and that she won, I said, the student government is on its way to yet greater things. So,
I appreciate that.
Well deserved.
Thank you. So on to the bigger things that we're having in place. Well, we actually went to ASGA. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. It's the American Student Government Association in Boston, Massachusetts. And it was a great conference, actually, where we learned a lot of our new initiatives and seeing what the other SGAs around the country do. So one of our goals was to outgrow the room. So as you know, or if you don't know, we are in the chamber. We already have too many members for the chamber, so we're in the tiger set now. And yesterday, as of right now, we had a full room until the fire drill happened. So kind of messed up my momentum. But to have those members there and their voices, it's starting a new culture. And that's what we're trying to do with SGA. So that, okay. So that's another thing that we're doing is doing a food committee. So we're having food from 12 to 12:30 to start up that new culture of, you know, chillness, but also like seriousness when 12:30 happens, and to have that openness with the members and new people that want to come and eat and have free food. You know, that's how you get members. You know, I don't have food, but you guys are already stuck here. So.
Governor made him come.
Yeah. So the food committees are a huge initiative. It's going to become our hospitality committee. Maybe during meetings we'll have a greeting. During events, we're going to have this committee do a bunch of different things. So that's one of our new things that we learned at ASGA. Following into that, we want to become more visible with our outreach. So we're tabling every 2 weeks just as the exec board members to show the students at Cobleskill who their exec board is. Because we found in the past that no one really knew who their president was, or their VP, or their treasurer. So we're tabling and just having our name out there with little flyers of SGA. Hey, come at 12 and eat free lunch, and 12:30 that doesn't actually happen. We're doing different outreach. I know that we've been going to classes and giving a little spurge about SGA in the beginning. Today I have 2 FFCS classes to hit those freshmen, and at 11 and 4 o'clock, so I'm really excited about that. And that's one of our outreach techniques we're using. One thing, we just had the blood drive on Wednesday. It's a huge thing in Cobleskill. You guys know we're #1. We had 136 units. It wasn't as much as last year, but it was really up to par, and we're really proud of that. So, yay! And that's all thanks to Jeff Foote and Steve Leary. So Steve Leary came to our SGA meeting our second week, and he spoke about the blood drive. And we did tabling for 4 days in different areas around campus: Canner, Bouck, Twisted Whiskers. So we got a lot of people to sign up. So hopefully our next blood drive in 7 weeks will have more and a better representation of Cobleskill, and hopefully still be #1 and beat Delhi. So well, we already beat Delhi. Something looking forward, we're having a leadership camp experience at Camp Osabachi. I'm not sure if you guys know. Yeah, okay. It's a leadership camp. I went there as a camper as FFA, and I love it. So we're going to do it again October 12th through the 14th. And we invite every club officers to come. We already have 3 vans saved for us, so hopefully we can fill those vans and take this leadership opportunity to like teach SJ members what leadership is in a different way in a campsite. So, which is really, really humble. No service. It's really fun. So I know our next meeting is October 17th, so I can give you an update on that campo leadership. So that'll be exciting. Otherwise, that's it. And if you have any questions for me, that's really what we're doing in SGA, and hopefully increasing our membership and having way more initiatives coming out.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, yeah.
I believe I sent either Jeff or Ann a list of vacancies that students usually fill in faculty governance. I think there are 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen those yet? Has your SGA board seen it?
Yeah, we have. See, something that I'm not struggling with, but like trying to work around is trying to appoint students for those committees.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many, and I don't know everyone, so I'm reaching out to different people to see if they know students that are capable of fitting those, and having little interviews. I actually just sent out like 5 emails this morning to prospective students for those governances. So by the end of next week, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have every one of them filled.
That'd be great.
Yeah, no problem. I'm on it.
Good answer.
A+.
Okay, any other questions? Okay.
Thank you for
so
letting
much.
me speak. Yeah. You're welcome.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve our minutes of the May meeting.
One correction, since I am the so-called secretary, they did spell my name wrong.
That's what you get for missing a meeting.
Sorry.
He's so-called secretary, so his name was so-called spelled right.
Towards the end, they added a C to the SH. That's all.
Well, we'll take care of that.
Thank you.
May I have the minutes?
As amended.
As amended. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. So carried. Okay, we're on to the president's update. Dr. Corinzio.
Well, it gives me great pleasure, great pride to introduce the newest member of our cabinet, John Zaharek. our new Vice President for Development.
Thank you.
John, did the interviews happen at the beginning of the, or actually at the end of the semester, and I want to again thank the faculty who joined us, Barb in helping us find those faculty, who stayed the course during a time when there was their discretionary time, and they added a lot to the committee. I think I want to thank Bonnie and actually Wendy for your good leadership in that wonderful work. And you'll see in a minute the quality person we got. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to John, and he's hit the ground running, to put it mildly. But John, if you want to say a little bit about yourself,
Sure.
And then I've asked him to do part of the PowerPoint presentation he did at his interview, so that you all can see the way this gentleman approaches philanthropy and what he's going to be able to do with us. Not for us, with us. So.
Well, thank you so much for the warm welcome, and this has just been fantastic. I'm really excited to be at Cobleskill and certainly working with such great leadership and voluntary leadership around the table. This is just outstanding. What an institution. Little background about myself. I'm going to talk about as fast as a fundraiser can talk because we tend to be long-winded when pushed, so I'm going to try to condense this, but a little bit of my background. So most recently, I've served as Executive Director of Development at Binghamton University, my alma mater, and it was a very difficult decision to leave, but family called, and we've got some health issues with my wife's father, and we're moving out to the Capital Region, and that's why I am here. So I'm so excited to be here. It's just been such a joy to work with President Terenzio, and I think the future is very bright. Fortunately for you, I am not a twin. You do not want two of me, I can guarantee you that.
I think Binghamton would like the other one.
But again, very quickly, my background, I served in both academia and healthcare. I've served as Vice President for Development and Advancement at Onondaga Community College. So I'm certainly well aware of SUNY and the county. And I spent about a decade at Upstate Medical University, so SUNY Upstate. I served as Vice President for Community General Hospital in Syracuse, so a little bit of healthcare and a lot of academia, also serving as Assistant Dean for Advancement at Syracuse University in one of its colleges, the College of Human Services and Health Professions, which, if you know today, is the David Falk School for Sport and Human Dynamics, because we've raised a whole lot of money from Mr. Falk. So very exciting to be here, and hopefully I can take everything that I've learned in all those other institutions and crystallize it, and we'll have billions by the end of the week. That's my hope. So if you flip to your presentation here, I think this is, there we go.
We could do it for you, John.
So today's topics, changing times in the world of development, a lot of changes going on. I'm not going to spend too much of on the changes, because what I really want to focus on is number 2 and 3. 3 especially, because this is where we want to move to. So I know I'm taxing all of your eyes with this small print here, but we were trying to conserve paper here. So you've got it all down on one sheet. Your slides flow to the right and then down. So if you take a look at your the significant changes, this is really, if you flip to the next slide here, you're going to see the times they are a-changing. Everybody knows that song, right? And I think Mr. Dillon said it well, but there has been a tremendous increase in wealth. We've also had an information explosion. The philanthropy bubble is in jeopardy. And people say, oh my gosh, what's that mean? So it's not all doom and gloom. So I'm going to get to the good stuff towards the end, but there are some changes that can be some threats. Declining alumni participation is another one of those. And competition for talented development professionals. And you saw that, I think, during the search, the quality of the candidate, and we found that at the institutions I've represented, we've had to go as far as the West Coast to be able to bring people out to the East Coast. That's how important it is. And the campaign arms race. Flipping to the next slide here. Strong case for support. And Carl Muth said this the best, I think. Philanthropy is literally translated the love of mankind. It's about taking enjoyment from doing things that help people. And I think that really sums it up. One of the most important pieces is how we go about bringing gifts in. It's not really how do we do it from the standpoint of the gift itself. It's really what really moves people. This is the most important piece of fundraising, and one that I can't stress enough. People often say, well, we need money. Well, why do you need money? We need it for this project, or we need it for this project. But what they're forgetting is the key component, and that is really the donor. Whether it's an individual or a corporation or a private foundation, it's really what does that gift mean? So this is an area that we really want to focus on. I'm going to hit some numbers here that aren't in the slides, because I think that this is important. In 2008, 1 in 17 households were millionaire households. And in 2016, 1 in 12. That's a huge jump. So I want everybody to be thinking along those lines. Our development shop is a little bit behind because most shops are using wealth screenings. We are not. 86% of the shops out there are using wealth screenings. So that is very important to remember as we are saying we need to invest a little bit, and we're going to do it on a tight budget. Trust me. If anyone is more frugal than me, we're gonna arm wrestle over that one, I think. But it is important to spend a little bit of money as we move forward in order to reap those benefits that we know are in sight. Our baby boomer generation is ending. And I know that sounds scary because most of us around the table are baby boomers. But that is the next big demographic that is shrinking. So that Gen X generation, which is the next one following that, is so much smaller than baby boomers. So what you're seeing are a lot less people giving gifts. But what you are seeing is with that those dollars that they have, they're making much bigger gifts. So less people making larger gifts. So we need to reduce appealing to the masses and be very targeted in our approach as we're out and we're approaching prospective donors. We've also got a window of opportunity that's closing. It takes 16 years to move people from the point that you're engaging them with an institution into a major gift. And that's scary to folks who say, as the president and I have talked about, how do we move people into philanthropy and make a major gift? We don't have 16 years to wait. So we need to capitalize on those relationships that are already built. Most of you have already built these relationships around the table. I certainly know the president has done a great job in her first 3 years. And we're going to work. This takes a village. I've said that to just about everyone I've met across campus. Development is not what this guy down the hall is doing for the college. This is everyone. It's a culture of philanthropy on this campus, and I hope to really create that over the next few years, because I think what we'll do is we'll look back and we'll say, wow, look at what we've become. If you flip to the next slide. So, we talked about a strong case for support being very important. And the old model, if you click again, is capacity, which is how much can you give, plus your inclination. So how connected are you to Cobleskill? Now we're ready to make the ask. So you've got a lot of money, you're pretty connected, we'll make the ask. That's the old model. So the new model, capacity plus inclination plus readiness. You may love Cobleskill and you may have a lot of money, but you may not, this may not be the point in your life, or if you're a corporation, it may not be the right fiscal year to make that contribution, that commitment to Cobleskill. So readiness is a key component, and it's one that we blow up here because it's not only the priority, but it's the impact that you're going to make. And I really focus on impact in all of my discussions with prospective donors. What impact do you want to make? Because that's right here. That's really the thing that is going to drive gift amounts up. $10,000, people think they have to pull out their checkbook and write a check for $10,000. That's not philanthropy. You're very generous if you do something like that. But philanthropy is truly making a change, a significant change in an organization or a mission. And you do that because you're making an impact. If I can see a student and talk to a student and see the change that I'm making for that student and others like her, now I'm far more ready to make a gift because I can see that impact. Then we talk about gift range. Are we in the right? You've often heard that person has a lot of money, so we can ask for $1 million. That may not be the case at all. That person's philanthropy may be far smaller, or it may be much bigger because we may have our numbers wrong. So we spend quite a bit of time on gift range to make sure that we're in the right place. And then again, timing. Timing is everything. On to the next slide, if you could. So, how do we get there? So, the case statement. We talk about case statements a lot. One of the most important pieces. I've talked to the president, in 3 to 5 years, we would love to have a comprehensive campaign for the college. And I think we can do it. But we've got a lot of building blocks in the short term. So, the case statement. Developing the institution's strategic plan. Well, we've done that. And that will continue. That's a very organic document. It's a very organic plan. It's going to change on a daily basis. But you have to know where you're going if you're going to ask others to join you. Ensure that the school unit department priorities align with the overall plan. I know this sounds crazy, but internally at every institution, Cobleskill is no exception, you're going to have priorities but in departments that don't necessarily align with the overall goal for the college. So how do we do that? That's a lot of work for the president and the provost and the deans and the chairs to make sure that we are all singing the same song, because if we're all singing a different song, it's going to sound terrible. Number 3, utilizing content experts. This is something I do. So when I'm out and I'm talking with donors, prospective donors, corporations, private foundations, you do not want me being the specialist for all things Cobleskill, because I can't do it. I don't think anyone could. I need to bring in those content experts across campus to help me as I'm speaking with these prospective donors to say, this is your expert, and they are going to explain the need that exists. This is where we are, this is where we'd like to go, and here's the gap, here's the need. So I'll be using those content experts across campus, and I've already been meeting with those folks all across campus. I'm trading my wingtips for track shoes soon. Because I've just been running from office to office, and my assistant Kate Weaver's done a wonderful job of scheduling me with just about everybody in the first 5 or 6 days that I've been here. And finally, clearly articulating to donors why funding is important. You know, that's one of the most, we may know it's very important, but if we are not articulating this in a very clear, concise, and I'm going to focus on concise, and again, fundraisers, we can be verbose, but when I write a fundraising letter, or I'm making an ask, it's going to be very brief because people don't want to get lost in the minutia. Hit that next slide if you could, because I know we're running short on time. 6 key components for a strong case and an emotional introduction. History of the college. Very, very important. We can't go forward if we don't know where we've been. The mission and impact and the vision and objectives. And the president's done a wonderful job of laying these out. And the financial needs. This is probably the most critical, and it's one of the things I'm putting my arms around in the first few days that I've been here. What are the financial needs across campus? As I'm out and I'm speaking with chairs and deans and the provost, saying, how can I help you? I need to know what those needs are, because as an institution, we can't go forward, and I can't have that bag of tricks, so to speak, that I'm going to present to someone if I don't know what our most critical needs are. And finally, the call to action. You have to ask. You'd be surprised how many people get tripped up on number 6. They do a great job with 1 through 5, and then they never ask. You have to ask, because people will not give if they're not asked. So, how do we do this? How SUNY Cobleskill can thrive in this competitive fundraising environment. This is an arms race. You know, the average campaign for a small college was about 20 million just a few years ago. It's gone up to 75 million in just a few years. So the small colleges are following the lead of the big colleges. This is not just Princeton and Harvard and Yale and Cornell with great big endowments. Smaller schools are following suit. We can either get on that bus or we can be left behind. So that's one of the areas that I'm really focusing on. Is we need to think big. I've said this to just about everyone I've met with. We need to think big. Don't think small. We'll never get to where we want to go thinking small. We have to think big. And it's one of the great things about this leadership team, this cabinet, that I've been so impressed with, is people are thinking big. It spells great things for the colleges. So align the changes in philanthropy to our strengths. One of our biggest strengths is that we can be very nimble. We can be quick to move. We can work with donors and be creative. We're not going to be stuck like a Princeton or a Harvard or a Yale that says, you know, for $1 million you get this, and I'm sorry, but we're going to be a creative bunch here. You're lucky you get a pat on the back at one of those schools for $1 million. Here, I think we'd erect a gold statue in the middle of, in front of the clock.
Fireworks.
Exactly. Expanding the major gifts program. This is huge. Again, thinking bigger. Major gifts, $50,000 and above. And in many cases, much higher than $50,000. So we have to be thinking in those terms, not annual gifts. Annual gifts, our annual fund will always be there. It's bread and butter. It will always be there. But that allows you to identify prospective major gift donors. Expanding the corporate and foundation relations program. Huge, 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 huge. I've had a few meetings already on this, and it's amazing. Just in the conversations that I've had with some experts across campus, and our conversation, Sue and I had a nice conversation where we had a few significant corporate prospects come out of that conversation. We'll be focusing on those. And committing to a planned giving program. This is my background, and it's something that we can execute right out of the gate. So I'm looking to have planned giving materials in the first 60 days.
I have to interject. In my second meeting with him, he's already asked me for my planned giving gift, just to let you know.
Certainly not bashful. I don't know if that, what do they call those, career limiting moves?
Use as a readiness first?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I think she's ready. And finally, plan and execute the comprehensive campaign in the next 3 to 5 years. This is the future of philanthropy at Cobleskill. I think we need to do this in the next 3 to 5 years. If we push ourselves, we will get there. We're not going to do it before we're ready, but I think we can be ready in that time frame.
John, a comprehensive campaign, would that be a capital campaign or an operating campaign? Or?
Yeah, we call them comprehensive in the state because many of our capital needs are handled by the state.
Right.
So we try to avoid the word capital campaign, but it would be a comprehensive all funds campaign. Everything from annual fund right through key initiatives. And I think we probably have 3 to 4 key initiatives that we would pull out to focus within that campaign. Not sure what they are today. I've got a little bit of an idea, and I know the president has some great ideas in that regard. So I'm going to open it up to questions, and I hope I hit my 8-minute mark on.
You need, the reason why you needed to see this is, as I said to John, I've said to the council, this is one of the most critical hires since I've been hired. And I think we're ready. I know we're ready. And John, as you can see, knows his stuff and actually chose us, and we chose him. So he could have the whole meeting for all I'm concerned, because this is, and I'm going to say a few words about my goals for this year. So are there any questions or comments? Because this is important.
John, what's the, what do you see the impact of the tax law on philanthropy?
Yeah, that's a good one. Great question, and it's changed so much. Everybody kind of shrugs and says, we're not quite sure yet. What I can tell you is this. Major gifts shouldn't be affected by the new tax law. I think where it's going to hurt institutions are smaller gifts where folks may have been more inclined to make a smaller gift to deduct it on their taxes. But I think major gift philanthropy, principal gifts, planned gifts, those types of things, many people will still continue to itemize that are in that bracket. And it's one of the reasons we have to push towards that type of program and not focus on the masses at small numbers. Sure.
So now you can see why we hired him.
This is very refreshing. And follow up with what everybody's already said this morning, that Very refreshing to hear that we're gonna go to the next level. The president has taken us and will be taking us to a next level. We did not have the base to really do it in many areas. So it's great to see somebody like yourself coming along with the background that you have to get to the next set of doors, if you will.
Great, thank you. One of the greatest assets of this institution is the excitement around the table, around campus. People are very willing, that's our greatest asset. Because when you have great partners that are able to tell a story and they've got the enthusiasm and you see the energy across campus, it makes my job easy. This is easy. It's not that, as I've joked with the president and a few others, the Brinks truck doesn't follow me onto campus and just start pouring money. It's already right here. The talent is here. We just need to tell the story and others will climb aboard.
As we were getting prepared for John's arrival and the whole search, it was very exciting because when we talked to the executive committee with the faculty, we said, are we ready? And they cheered, right? And the first thing Barb asked is, can we also figure out a way of getting what we're now going to call faculty ambassadors for advancement? So when John says we're creative, so we don't have the infrastructure that we should have, okay? We're going to get there. But what we've done was we've created a team around him of faculty and staff. Tara Winter, who is our IR person, is going to be the research arm for him, even though she's not in his office. He's going to have that at his fingertips. We just talked about Barry Gell yesterday and how he will be a part of it. We've got Wendy now as executive director of the foundation. We've created a team with Scott, Bonnie, Wendy, myself, and Amy to look at how we're moving the whole agenda forward. Sue has the deans ready. So what John is saying too is even though we're small, we don't have all the resources in his shop. We have all the resources. We have created an interesting team approach that will make him successful. And I think how important that is that the institution is behind this. I can't tell you how many times I've been at an institution and they turn to the development guy or advancement guy and say, it's on you. I have nothing to do with this. Exactly. And there was a company here yesterday already, by the way, talking to the science faculty, right, Barb?
Yes, there'll be another one here tomorrow.
So he's only been here since September 4th, and we've already had a company visit, and I met the gentleman in my office, and he said, okay, the partnership is here. Where are we going? And I'm going, I usually am not off my game, but I was going, oh my God. I gave him a squishy tiger.
You were on your game. You were on your game.
I gave him a stress ball, so tiger, and you put it in. So that's the new day, but it's because of the work we've done here. It's all of us around the table, plus the campus, that he has stepped into this. The one thing you said, John, that I do want to say is true, but there's more to it. Yes, he had to relocate, but he didn't have to choose us. He could have chosen, there are so many places out there that need a John. So, you know, folks said, well, he had to relocate, but I'm saying, yeah, no, he chose us. Right. So I want to make sure that's clear, that we attracted the kind of talent that's sitting at this table.
It was only going to happen if the time was right, the institution was right, and it is family first, there, without a doubt. But I look at this as an extension of my family. Really, there's been a very warm welcome here, and you can't fake that. So thank you.
Other questions?
I guess I just have a simple one. What can the faculty do to help you do your job?
Here you go.
My content experts. Faculty explaining the priorities that you have within. Again, making sure that we're all aligned. That's critical. So I've seen it time and time again. You've got someone with fabulous ideas, absolutely brilliant, but they want to go this direction, and the college wants to go this direction. We got plenty of those. So that makes our job a little bit more challenging, but it's bringing those together, because there's always a way to bring them together. And devoting some time so that when we do have a prospective donor, they're willing to tour, they're willing to be that content expert for me, because as much as I'd love to talk about biotechnology, you don't want me talking about biotechnology. That's really where we have experts on campus that can help me in that regard, and it's really going to resonate with donors. So just being that resource and explaining the needs is going to be huge.
Okay. I don't think it'll be a problem.
Awesome.
You'll have to tell us to shut up.
Yeah.
So why don't we shrink this Barb, I mean, get
Yeah, I
out
can
of
do
this
it.
so that people can fill in. Bonnie and Scott and Amy, Wendy, Irene. If you guys, I'd rather you. Okay, go to here. Except that might be woods. Yeah, all right, shrink that part.
And I'd like to welcome Scott Ferguson to our meeting this morning. Good to have you here, Scott.
Good to be here.
Weird. I'm going to turn it off.
You know what we can do? Let me just turn.
Sure we have
It's a magic table. We said.
Oh, you.
We're outgrowing the room.
We are.
Steps like
this
here?
Yeah.
We're good.
One can go here.
See, you'll see yourself. Except they're not
Can we fit one more of the small chairs in?
I think so.
Oliver, I'm coming forward to you. Irene? All right.
It's fine.
It's funny, I always like people, I like people at the table. I don't really like people.
You wanted family.
Musical chairs.
There's no kids' table here.
Yeah.
So as we're settling in, Bonnie, there's room. I know Rich could go towards Scott. It's funny, I just think everybody needs to be at the table. That's something. And are you all right back there?
I'm fine.
All right, I won't pick on you. So I'm gonna keep the rest of, I just have a couple things to share, and I know the cabinet members under the strategic plan will just be telling you where we're going, because we've chosen 3 initiatives to move forward. I think the strategic plan rollout is going well. The assessment pieces are really shaping up. But I just want to let you know that we sent the annual report to the Chancellor. You all had a link to that. The Chancellor had asked all presidents to also send in privately their goals for themselves for the year. So I want to share with you the 2 that I'm saying. It's going so well with the plan and the cabinet and the executive committee and the students that I am pulling myself out of watching the day-to-day plan because it's in good hands. With the arrival of John and talking to so many folks and helping push this institution forward, I am now what I say at the 100,000 foot level. I have upped my thinking and game. I'm scanning the environment more than I've ever done before. I'm at meetings now that are more about the college as a whole and higher education. We've been recognized on national forums, and I'm going to take advantage of that. So I said in my letter to the Chancellor, I will be focusing with the Institute for Rural Vitality because that has become highly successful with Sue and the deans and Jason working with the faculty, and that's something where to connect. You talk about connecting, that if we can put the faculty research with the students' work through the Institute with the outside organizations, that is just, it's doing very well. Actually, it was written in a national publication just a couple months ago, and helping to solidify that with John. And I am going to say, what else I've learned is, and this is no reflection of anything, is that we have underperformed in John's area for a very, very long time. And it's hitting us even harder, and let me tell you why. Any institution that is on a tuition-only model will not succeed. Any institution that's on a tuition-only model that is only looking at traditional age students will not succeed. That we have to step up our game in a way, and I think John sees the excitement, but we almost have to leapfrog ahead in a way that I think we're ready to do. So my energies are going to be on that because you'll hear we're doing well as you can expect, with a revenue stream that is only very limiting. The funnel is so skinny, it's scary, okay? As a matter of fact, I said to the Chancellor, I said, would you agree with me that within 3 to 5 years, if institutions don't think differently, the entire SUNY system will be in structural deficit? And she agreed. So we are ahead. We're going to move forward in a way that the chancellors are interested to see what we're thinking because we have another plan for that. So just to let the council know, and the cabinet has already experienced this one day when I was a little ornery because I don't want to be in the weeds, okay? And this group knows that, and they know how to manage that. So we will be I will be with John very, very externally oriented. It still means I'll be around, but it doesn't mean I'm going to abandon, because it's important at a small institution that my presence is here. And I will never abandon the students or not become I won't become an absent president. But just to, and I don't think I have to. That's the beauty of the kind of fundraising we're going to be doing together. Because as Barb and everybody knows, when I go around and I talk to the faculty, I plug holes immediately when I'm out there. Oh, I know so-and-so in their research. I don't want to lose that. But everybody, and as Sue knows, the provost is stepping up the game. So it's going to be a true provost model, and that Sue will be running more of the show while John and I feel like, the behind the scenes with the Wizard of Oz almost. And it's appropriate because the work has been done. We have excellent leadership across this table as you're meeting everybody who knows what to do. So I just wanted to make that clear to everybody. And it's okay, all right? But the underperformance is showing more drastically than I thought it ever would. That's okay. That's okay, all right? So with that being said, I would like Wendy and Bonnie, well, first why don't we say, Bonnie, where we are with enrollment. When you hear the numbers, I will then give you a context of the other SUNYs that I just found out yesterday. So,
okay. Our enrollment is essentially flat. We're slightly above where we were last year, about 10 students at this point. But we're pleased about the mix from a revenue perspective. We should meet our targets. And admissions, I think, is poised to really take their game to the next level. We have a brand new suite of publications that I shared at the College Council retreat. I can go get some for those of you that couldn't be there. They're gorgeous. Admissions has received a lot of grant funding, so it's about $500,000 today. That's not our money to promote the campus. We have a great team, and I'm very optimistic about how the future will look for us.
And the reason why that is a highly successful story is, first of all, they have reinvented themselves. There are institutions, there's an institution in the tech sector that's 250 students down from their enrollment last year. And I was talking to the community college sectors because we had a meeting here, one president was here and talking about others. They are significantly down. And I was asking, what do you think the issue is? And partly is that I didn't know this, but they had a lot of international student enrollment, which surprised me. But because everybody's recruiting in New York City, which, as everybody knows, I think is a mistake, CUNY now is not releasing names like they used to the SUNYs because they're keeping them for themselves. And not only that, they don't have the extra numbers they used to, right? They used to fill and would send the names of overflow, and that's not happening. That didn't happen this year. So it is a highly, again, effective strategy that we're at least a little bit up. We're also seeing that retention we could do much better. We think that's where we can look at that more and see what we can do to help our students. So it's a good story, folks, even though we're still in a structural deficit piece, which Wendy will share with you in a minute. It's a good story because we're getting on our game, okay? And we're not in the situation where so many other SUNYs are right now. Okay.
May I make a comment?
Please.
I've taught classes for the last 2 weeks, and I know Scott is teaching some classes. Wendy, are you teaching a class this semester? And you were going to teach a class, but you're not. I find that the freshman class whom I'm teaching this year is more engaged and lively than in years past, so I'm very happy with the quality of students. Yeah. I walked down to the admissions office last Friday to let them know that I was very happy with the classes that I had.
Thank you.
I can't say that that's been the case always.
But the faculty are engaged with it. That's why. The process is, we're talking to the faculty, say what makes the most sense for students in your class, and thank you. So the story is good, okay? And we're stopping trends that others are getting caught up in because we know we have our eye on the prize. And that's the best we can do in any situation. So, Wendy, you want to share the numbers?
Sure.
Yeah.
So we did do a plenary for the entire campus.
2 weeks ago. And so I did share these with the campus, so they are aware of what's going on. One of the things I talked about was the operating budget, and I showed a 5-year history. And Olive, if you'd like, I can email you these numbers later if you wanted to share them, so people don't have to just be listening to them.
Sure, why don't you just mail them to all the council members, if you will.
Amy and Irene could do that.
Yeah. So the revenue has basically been flat for the last 5 years. State support definitely flat. Tuition's gone up a little bit and down a little bit based on the enrollment. You probably remember 3 years ago we had an enrollment dip, and we're still suffering from that. The fact that we're flat is fabulous, as the president just said, so that has helped us. But we're still figuring out how to work within that tuition that we're generating now. And again, as the president said, we can't be just relying on tuition, and we can't just be relying on those 18-year-old students coming in anymore. Expenses have been going up some because they do. We work really hard on utilities. I think the facilities group has done a fabulous job. And salaries go up because they do. And that's what happens. So we're working within those constraints. When I first got here, I knew we had been spending down our reserves. To be honest, I expected us to have one more year before we ran out of money. We kind of ran out of reserves this year. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is we had some additional expenses we weren't counting on. One of them is a good expense. You know, the dairy processing center that we're building across the street. We have a $1 million grant from the ESDC, the state Empire State Development Corporation. I can't remember the acronym correctly. Well, we had to front that $1 million. And so we've been spending it, and now we have to get it recovered. So that hit our reserves because we had to take the money from somewhere. And there were the enrollment blip certainly didn't help the year that we weren't planning on it. So we basically have spent down our reserves. We have some cash on hand. We don't have any reserves on hand. So what are we going to do? Well, we've done a few things so far. The first thing we did this year, knowing that this was going to be a problem, is I worked with Anne and her staff. We realigned some of the expenses that were in the operating budget to be supported by the residence hall. And appropriate expenses, I am very careful that we're not just going to put anything I can on the res hall, but checking staffing levels, checking some spending levels, were they appropriate? So we did some realignment there. You know that we instituted a transportation fee. We talked about that last spring, and that's actually how I met Cheyenne, was one of those first discussions with the students. And so that has allowed us to do a couple of things. And I think I mentioned this at the retreat too, the paving that happened across the street. I hope the students have noticed the commuter lot. That's what helps pay for that. The bus, the shuttle bus that goes into town, that gets covered by that. And we're also supporting 2 maintenance workers, some other expenses that go with transportation. And we're going to be able to start building a reserve to replace the vans that we use to move students around. I mentioned the work the facilities group has done. We had $400,000 in utility savings this year that I was able to take out of the budget. That's a huge piece of why our deficit is not as big as it could have been. And then we also started taking a closer look at our tuition projection assumptions and just tightening that up because it wasn't as close to the actual as it should have been. And in the past it was okay because we had extra enrollment, so it kind of washed out. Now that the enrollment's gotten a little bit tighter, we've got a better estimate on the tuition. And there was one other thing. Oh, and then so the deficit this year is $1.1 million. Last year it was 1.4. So I'm okay with that. I mean, I want it to be 0. And John's raising all that money, so it's going to be 0.
That's right.
Next week, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, he said it was going to be $1 billion.
No big deal. I like the way you hear.
So all those actions helped to reduce the deficit. It could have been much higher, but I think we've already done some work going forward. So what else we're going to do is I think the reporting needs to really be improved because people need to know what they're spending and where the money's coming from. So I'm working with both the business office staff and the foundation staff to make sure we know what money's there and what's available so people can be mindful. We're also working on the revenue side. It's not just about tuition. We are going to look at some fees. Can we add some course fees? And I know we want to be very careful. We know our students are not made of money. You know, a lot of them come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. They just don't have the extra money to pay extra fees. But in some cases, we do have to implement those. So I'm working with the faculty to say, where does it make sense to implement a fee for a very expensive course? And of course, the development. We're also going to be looking closely at our IFRs, which are those extra revenue generating activities that happen outside of the regular operating budget. Making sure we know that they're spending appropriately. The farm is a big piece of that. And we have a new faculty member, Stephen Weir, who comes to us from Farm Credit East. He's going to help us take a look at the finance side of all of the farm activity. And I think that'll help us understand what we're spending our money on. Overhead rates, we've talked about maybe doing a Gold Star incentive if areas do especially well, give them back some of the money that they're generating. And then campus engagement is another big piece of this. We're working with FAST, the Faculty Governance Committee. One of the things I had worked with them on the last couple of years was looking at the OTPS, which is the supplies and expenditures, supplies and supplies and contractual travel. That is 10% of the budget. We spent the whole spring semester going through, and we decided, as much work as that was and as much as everybody learned from that process, it's not really the best use of their time. So we're looking at doing a more strategic approach with them, thinking about revenue generating opportunities, how maybe can we restructure things. And one of the things that I found, NACUBO is the National Organization for Business Officers. They've done something called the Economic Models Project, and they've got a bunch of literature out there and guides to rethinking the process. One of the things we have to do is understand our activity costs. We know we have expensive programs, and I talked a lot about this at the plenary. We know we have expensive programs. Well, how expensive are they actually? And we know we have cheap programs. Well, how cheap are they actually? So we need to really dig in, and I think with Tara's new role and being able to really focus on the data, we're going to have a much better understanding. We know the expensive programs are not going to go away. That's what we do. But we need to be very mindful and thoughtful about the programs that we have and making sure we're putting our resources in the place that we want to. Looking at innovative approaches, we've already started talking about that. And there's an interesting set of articles I just came across that are starting to talk about the public good. What do we do that's a public good? And then how do you fit productivity into that? And the president has scheduled a series of forums over the semester. The next one is September 25th, and I think we're going to start digging into some of those issues. It's not just the dollars and cents, but it's the bigger structural.
Let me just add to that. The reason why we're doing that is this community thrives on being a part of it, and it's more than transparency. So when we realized at the plenary session how well it went with hard news and folks got on board, this is not a shy community. So the more this community understands, right, Barb?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to not laugh for the camera.
Yeah.
We're not shy.
And roll up their sleeve. We roll up our sleeves together and move forward. So these forums are really going to be that, where we have to talk about the tough stuff and how do we handle it as a community. And I don't see any other way of going but that way. So we learned a lot from that, right? Right,
yes,
Linda?
So that's what I wanted to say about the budget. Are there any questions?
Wendy, the $1 million grant, what's the period to recoup?
It's probably going to take about a year. The original payment agreement was to get about a quarter over the course of the year. We're going to have a chance to renegotiate that, I hope. Okay. And so I'm going to try to get more upfront. I settled before I got here, so.
I have contacts at our EDC, or at the EDC, who are working in this program. Because they go, when they talk to me about private stuff, they ask me how the dairy processing center is going.
Tell them to send them money.
It is going very well.
It's very well.
Yes, that's what I say. I said, come down for some ice cream.
And they do think of us as a private entity, and I keep telling them we're not a private entity, we're part of New York State. But it's okay. We will get the money back. It's just an issue.
What percent of our former reserves would that represent?
It was at least a third.
Okay.
Yeah, we had about $4 million in reserves, so maybe a quarter. So.
Thanks.
Do we get any interest on that?
We're going to have to pay interest, actually. This is a grant that's costing us money. I mean, yes, we're grateful for the $1 million. We could not have done it without the $1 million, but it is going to cost us a little bit of interest.
So, yeah, these grant programs. Speaking of the Dairy Processing Center, it will be up and running within the next few weeks, and it will be doing fluid milk, and then we're moving to look at ice cream and yogurt, right, Sue, and cheese.
Right.
So more to come on that. It will be sold. And
think-
naming rights.
Absolutely.
Naming this. Yes.
And I think you have a tour of the dairy complex next meeting.
Yes.
So hopefully the ice cream will be ready by then. Priorities.
You want the ice cream over
Well,
the cheese? All right.
I can't drink milk or eat ice cream, but I can watch.
How about cheese? Can you? No,
That's a dairy.
None of it.
Dairy.
Okay. Ice
So-
cream would be good though before it gets too cold.
You got it.
That's right.
And as I say to everybody, and why we're going to look at FASP and have them help us differently is, in my mind, and I know Wendy agrees, if you're looking at the budget, the behavior's already happened. The budget is the last piece. You know, you've got to look at how to make changes with behavior prior to giving the numbers. So it's kind of backwards. So we want to be more proactive. I know Sue and Ann, I asked the cabinet to quickly give some update of where we're going. You could look at the annual report. I don't like to always talk about where we've been because it's more important you hear what the cabinet's thinking. So,
you know, one of the things we're really focusing on in academic affairs, and I talked about this before, but it's continuing to build those degree pathway options. And it's interesting since now we've structured a little bit, and Debbie Richards has taken on the role as assistant to the provost, and she is largely responsible for the college-high school partnerships. The phone is kind of ringing off the hook, so it's that's a good problem to have, but it's now kind of getting our arms around that and doing that in a really
well, tell them who just
intentional way.
called.
So Shenandoah High School wants a degree pathway with us.
Fantastic.
Interesting. Shenandoah is not called before. So we're in Knox Westerlo. We have 18 new courses through our college and the high school program with them. Middleburg, we're building more there because one of our grads is actually the new ag teacher at Middleburg. So, you know, we're really excited about the opportunities. We have 35 P-Tech students here on campus this semester as high school juniors. So, so far so good. You know, we're continuing, that program's continuing to evolve. But I think those are great opportunities to build a pipeline into a lot of our programs, and I think we can expand that. Again, we have a seat at the table with the local superintendents. BOCES has been increasingly active with us and looking for ways to partner and build pathways. So I think, you know, we're continuing to be creative there and look for ways to grow the enrollment that way too.
Well, and Centro Civico, who's based in Albany and Amsterdam, will be talking to us about pathways for the community they serve, particularly the immigrant community, which is growing. It was an interesting statistic yesterday. In Mohawk Valley, we're down by 1% in population growth. And it would have been lower because we're down at least, I think it was like 12% in what we would U.S. born and up in immigrants. And because of that, which is the scenario throughout most of New York State. Otherwise, if it were just on U.S. born citizens from New York State, the numbers would be very low, but it's the immigrant population that's really growing. So we've reached out to Centro Civico, who's interested to work with us. We've tried to reach out to the Utica group, but it was funny because yesterday they were talking about working with a bunch of partners, and Scott's reached out to them, and they're kind of like, yeah, well, no. So we're kind of like, okay, whatever. So we're trying to connect with communities like that, like Centro Civico.
And Hudson School District.
Oh, I forgot about
Reconnected with
Hudson.
us. So,
Yeah.
you know, a little farther afield, but if another community college in the area can't meet the needs of that high school, or, you know, high schools are struggling with enrollment and budgets and all of that too, you know, they're looking for ways that they can build partnerships to create pathways for their students. And, you know, most often they're better students that they want to provide some kind of enriching experiences for. So I think that's where we can fill a niche. So
Right.
It's exciting.
19% fewer students want to go to college in upstate New York. So we've got to figure out how to turn that tide, and I think this is very appropriate.
In the Mohawk Valley numbers are just, I'd be interested to see where the Amish families fit into that.
Oh, interesting question,
There's
right?
well over 150 families up in the Mohawk Valley.
Yep.
And we all know they have like 10, 12 kids. There's a lot of children involved that different education levels, let's leave it at that.
And they're immigrants, but mostly from Pennsylvania, so that's the ones that
Oh, that's
have
interesting.
come in recently.
Kentucky, Tennessee,
Yep.
Ohio.
Yep.
Okay.
Land is too expensive there, so they come up here.
Thank you, Sue. Anne, you want to add anything in terms of where?
Sure. So last night, actually, the president and I had the good fortune to get the Greeks for the first time this semester. They have not been officially recognized. There's a handbook under development, which we're calling a working document that we're holding them accountable to and supporting them with. And that was really actually a pretty fun meeting. It was a pretty busy group last night. And the other piece is Cobleskill, which you might recall is the leadership program, really an emerging leadership program. It's based on career readiness, diversity, equity, inclusion, civic engagement, and leadership. Our wonderful Cheyenne is actually in Cobleskill as well.
Yeah.
And this is the second semester, and it's part of the PIP grant. So that's taken off as well. And we had a barbecue and tie-dye T-shirts last week, and the students are ready to rock and roll in that program and earn their badges. So we're very excited.
And what you haven't heard, and we won't take the time today, but each VP has done restructuring in their areas as well, because one of our goals was to put in a contemporary structure to fit where we're going. So a lot of changes along those have happened with zero increase in funds. And I would like to, if you haven't met him yet, introduce you to our new Chief Diversity Officer, Scott, Dr. Scott Ferguson.
Hello.
He will be joining us because the initiatives he brings to the table are quite important. And I've asked him just to give you, SUNY's been asking us for a strategic plan in diversity, and as John, Scott has hit the ground running, and between the two of them, I go home exhausted at night now, which is great. So Scott, does everybody know Scott around the table for this part? Yeah. Okay.
We know most of it.
He's one of our favorites, we know.
Yes. So, and I apologize, we're taking the time, but this is important.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So what I'm handing around is our report to SUNY for what we did in diversity for 2017-18. That was kind of our reporting of the first diversity plan that the campus put together. I wanted to share that with you because we did lots of great things, made lots of efforts forward, and have really started to build some foundation of programs like Cobleskill and the admissions recruitment processes and things like that that are going to really take us down the road for the foreseeable future. So that's really just information for you and to let you know that we definitely are actively engaged in moving the campus and our strategies forward, and this is the proof from last year of what we've accomplished. The second thing I wanted to mention was that the cabinet has approved the concepts for our next generation of the diversity plan. And how we constructed that was basically assessing ourselves against all of the SUNY charges and the chief diversity charge and the mandates that came to us from SUNY to see how we stacked up against that. And then we kind of have put together the programs and initiatives that we have for each one of those things so that we can consciously understand what we're doing and what SUNY's asking us to do, and build our plan in concert with the direction that the state wants us to be going. That, I would say, is beyond rough draft form, but it's not close to final form yet. So that should be coming in the next couple months.
If I may, Scott was also helping when we started what we were referring to as our empathy theme. And we don't call it civility, we're calling it empathy because we need to start with our own, if you will, and understanding who we are and the kind of diversity we all bring to the table. The other thing that I also want to mention is how, a perfect example of how our Chief Diversity Officer at the cabinet level is working with the faculty. Barbara, are you going to talk about it?
I have it circled that if you didn't talk about it, I would talk about it.
Then I'm not going to say much because I think that's a good story.
It really is, but...
Well, it's a good story in that we're taking one of the governance committees and reshape. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I thought you were done. That's fine.
No.
Go.
That's the third thing on my list.
Perfect.
We are initiating a new diversity, equity, and inclusion charge for the campus. And that has caused Barb and I to do a lot of work together because it involves governance, faculty governance. The key components of this is we're basically suspending the standing appointed presidential committee, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, and we are charging a new action group. And what we've done with that is we've expanded the involvement across all of our campus. So for example, one of the things on Cheyenne's list is to appoint 4 students to be involved in our diversity initiative. That's more than we've ever had involved before. Another example, we've asked for CAS to be involved. We've asked for somebody from facilities to be involved. So we're really expanding this across our entire campus community so that we're making sure we're aware and engaging everyone, okay? The other thing that we've done is change the focus of the committee. The committee did great work, but it was largely focused on programs, like a movie once a month that was diversity oriented, things like that. Great things, but didn't really connect us to the strategy of the campus. And that's where our effort is going to be. Okay, so I haven't got it finished writing it, but we're going to announce an appointed chair probably today if I can get the writing done. We've finalized our decision, but we haven't made it public yet. So we're well on the way to have that effort down the road quite a ways as well.
Okay, I suggest, because we haven't had a chance to read this, that as you read it, you make some notes so we can ask Scott next time.
Sure.
We're only, I think, 3 weeks away. We're off schedule just a bit. So we'll come back with questions for next time, if it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd just like to note the second left sub-bullet in the first section is funny and ironic. In a good way.
Yeah.
I think, I know it was long, but that concludes. Anything else, Bonnie, that you needed to say, or are you good? You're good. Okay, concludes our report. Just to add that several of us, actually Sue, myself, Barb, and John are heading down to New York City tomorrow to attend the gala for the beginning of the inauguration of the Chancellor. Why this is exciting is that we were bold, and part of the gala was we are sponsoring a full table at $15,000. The money would go to the Impact Foundation, but coming right back to the campus. We raised that money within a week, and those of you around the table who helped with that, thank you. But SUNY Cobleskill has a full table, and I found out that SUNY Albany is sharing a table with Hudson Valley, so I was a little surprised.
Shared services, Marion. Shared
is that
services.
what it is, Barb? And then, so we will be front and center. We're also supplying the beer, which is now named Ale to the Chief. The Chancellor loves that name. So we will be there as well. And then Barb and I will be marching in the inauguration. Barb will be supporting and I guess
I am the flag
bearer for the college. So we're good.
I'll be wearing the Board of Trustees robes.
Yes,
also.
she is. And Sue will be at the inauguration with us as well. So we are very front and center, what I think is at a very, very important event. So down to the city we go. So I just want to let you know that.
Thank you. That's very exciting. I can't believe all of them. Anyway. Cobleskill style. Absolutely. Okay, Barb.
Yes, a lot of what Marion has mentioned already and what the other VPs have brought to the table are efforts that are coordinated between faculty governance and the cabinet. So I'll only talk about the ones that haven't really been mentioned yet. There are, let me see, I think it's 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 governance committees that faculty and what we would call staff populate. And at the beginning of the semester is always a new transition. We appoint, or not appoint, but we elect chairs to those committees. from the existing membership, and then there's a bit of a shuffle because we have term limitations to a lot of our committee spots. So we continue to work to try to fill the matrix as best as we can. That's why Cheyenne has received an email in August about students. But the meetings have started. We've had 2 meetings of the meetings at the governance committee meetings to date. Academic Personnel Policies Committee is working in conjunction with the cabinet to come up with recommendations for how to change the sabbatical application for faculty. We have more than 50% of our faculty that have been here less than 7 years. And as such, very soon, that whole baby boom, the boomlet of SUNY Cobleskill faculty will be thinking about a sabbatical, and in fact we've already seen that. We have a lot of the old guard who could not take a sabbatical because they were kind of keeping everything together to get the new hires here, beyond the searches and so on, and now they're feeling that it's time for them to go try and do something other than classroom work. We had 6 applications last year, I believe, Sue, is that correct? Yes. I think it was 6. Yes. And we ended up with a tie in the rating system. The rating system was on a very small Likert scale from 0 to 3 in 4 different areas. So if you do the math, you don't have much of a leeway there. And what happens is it takes the voice of faculty that are in the Academic Personnel Policies Committee and diminishes it if you have a tie. It doesn't help the provost and the president make the decision as to where the sabbaticals will go. So we've asked the committee to come up with recommendations of what to change, what to add, how to suss this out. And then those recommendations will come back to the cabinet for discussion. It does require a bylaw change because this document is in our faculty handbook. And so when we have issues that are in our faculty handbooks, if it's bylaw, it's 2 faculty meetings. If it's a policy, it's 1 faculty meeting. But we're working towards an end. We're also looking at creative ways to not kill Wendy. All of us really, but Wendy first. And that is, we're looking to see if maybe the ratings should include or might include the whether some might result in a savings to the college rather than a cost to the college, because there are 2 different ways to take a sabbatical. You can take it as a semester sabbatical, which is at full pay, which then somebody's got to teach your classes. So then there's the added expense of that second instructor. If you take a year-long sabbatical, it's at half pay from the college perspective. And so there could be a potential savings to the college for a full year sabbatical. So they're working on that. They also have a slew of promotion and reappointment portfolios this year. Academic policies has 2 issues. One, we understand.
Thanks,
good luck.
Be well. Yes, ma'am.
Last year, we passed as a faculty the ability to have a student enroll in a dual degree. This is part of the Pathways expansion that we work with the Provost's office on. That was the harder one. It takes some while to implement it behind the scenes with the software changes that are necessary, which are ongoing. But now we're taking the easier one, which is a double major. So if I'm within the same school or in the same type of degree program, then I don't need dual degree, I just need a double major. So they'll work on that they're almost done with it on their end. They'll bring it to the executive committee very soon. The other piece is we passed about a year and a half ago a micro-credential policy, and I believe we're the first in SUNY to do so. SUNY has kind of caught up, and they have put together a SUNY micro-credential policy. So I've asked academic policies to take our groundbreaking micro-credential policy and compare it to the SUNY final policy and see if we're mapped and we meet all the SUNY objectives, and we do. So I haven't announced that to the full body of the faculty yet, but that analysis has happened, and we are okay. The one piece that's left over with that, and we were waiting for the city policy, is we need to create some forms, nothing like some good forms, so that people can apply for degree-bearing micro-credentials through curriculum committee. So curriculum committee and academic policies are working together on that. I'll skip down to FAST. We talked a bit about fiscal affairs and strategic planning. Not only are we very enthusiastic, we're really big on the acronyms. So we have Marion's vision. We had a separate meeting, the chair of FAST, myself, and Marion and members of the cabinet to come up with where FAST's direction will be in the coming year. And as faculty tend to do, they're chewing it down to the bone to see what comes out, and we'll get back to you on that. Technology Committee this fall believes that they will have the ability for faculty to apply for some educational software or infrastructure money to help support teaching in the classroom. We haven't had this opportunity lately to really pick up pieces that couldn't be funded directly from the student technology fee. So this is it EER, Bonnie? I hear different letters, but I couldn't figure out what the second R is, or second E rather. So it's educational resources, electronic probably, educational resources. So the idea is very soon there will be an application window that opens. Faculty will be asked to put in submissions. It'll be evaluated by Tech Committee, and there'll be recommendations based on that. More to come on that. We're not done with that one yet. You heard about diversity, equity, and inclusion. The thing I don't think Scott said is the action group is term limited in that it is a temporary solution to then make recommendations to go back into the faculty handbook and institutionalize the new version of diversity, equity, and inclusion, whatever the action group recommends and the faculty and cabinet approve. Our student faculty conduct board is thankfully not very busy yet. And I believe the Great Place to Work for survey results are out. The faculty haven't seen them yet, and I think at a certain point it would be helpful for the College Council to also see the Great Places to Work for survey results.
Well, as a matter of fact,
it's on there?
We're going to create a committee
there
for
we
that.
Go.
It's not out yet.
All we have is the very preliminary
the raw stuff,
yes. Data. We
Not
don't
even
have
the raw
comments. So, as soon as we receive them and Lynn has a chance to review them, we certainly will share them as we always do with council.
I haven't seen them yet either.
As well as anybody else that wants to see them.
One, just for the newer people in the room, one of our strategic, we didn't call it imperative, initiative, thank you, was making sure that it's not just a great place for students to go to school, but it's also a great place for us to work.
It's one of the piece of evidence for the dashboard, and actually the council's going to deal with it in a moment of what we want to do next.
Yeah, and then there was one other leftover I had, and that was bylaws. Sue's office has been working with the departments to make sure that their bylaws conform with the Board of Trustees guidelines. And from what I understand, we're about 95%, maybe it's 96 now, 95% done with that. So each department really has to go down, dig deep, look at the bylaws, compare it to the Board of Trustees guidelines, and make sure we're in compliance. And that we're doing the things that we want to do at the same time. Any questions from the body? Great. I will have the report of what our agenda items are for each of the committees next time. They were not quite finalized yet because they'd only had one meeting. By the time I met with them, it's been 2 meetings now.
Okay. Thank you, Barb.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Barb? Okay. Wendy, you're going to give the foundation update?
This will be very quick. John and I are going to be working very closely together. The culinary extravaganza is October 19th. Invitations will be mailed within the next week or so, and I hope to see you there. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yay. Okay. Question on the extravaganza coming up? Okay, you'll get more information on it. You're updating
And on the alumni, this is the schedule for homecoming, which is February. It's on a Friday, and September 28th, 29th, and 30th. I believe you all got invitations to the ribbon cutting for the retail center, which is the kickoff on Saturday morning. It's not just homecoming, it's homecoming and family weekend. I always try to remember that. And so here's the scheduled activities. It should be a fun day, and hope that we see you at that. And the parade, and especially the parade. And keep your fingers crossed for no rain.
What are you driving this year?
Pardon me?
What are you driving?
Tractor.
Of course. We've got to get you in goggles and a lab coat
I was
one
just
year.
going to say, test tubes or something. I like that idea.
How about genetically modified unicorns pulling your carrot? We can do it.
Let's do it.
I was just going to grow them.
And we watched the fireworks from here, actually. One other thing we forgot to mention, Barb just reminded me too, is just, and we'll say it again, in January, the college will be hosting the SUNY Faculty Senate Assembly, about 100 people. They'll be staying at the Otasaga, and we will be busing them in, and actually the Senate's picking up that tab because I asked them to, because it's costing us $12,000 as it is, which is fine. But Barb just also told me that the College Council will be invited to the Friday night dinner. We're the hosts. We'll be talking and sharing the podium together, but I'll keep you apprised of that. It's January 19th.
Right. I'm going to find out which is the Friday dates just so you can write them down. If mine, I'll look at my phone and find the calendar.
The Chancellor will be here. It's really showing ourselves off, so it'd be really cool to have the entire leadership present for this. Very proud of it. So we'll keep you posted on that. Barb, thank you.
And if there's any ALT chief left over, I'm sure Faculty Senate will kill it for you.
Okay, Chair's report. I don't have a lot. I attended the interviews for the Vice President for Development in June, and I know that Tracy was there for, I believe, all of them, and Ann Myers was there for most of them also.
Tracy was too.
Yeah, I said.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You weren't listening.
I know, I was writing down. Barb, we got caught.
Yeah, passing notes.
I think the College Council retreat went very well on August the 15th. We got a lot of information that we were behind on, and it's always a good time, so thank you very much. Updates for the Council notebook. Amy has worked this summer on it. We got together early in the summer, and she's gone through and put a whole new notebook together with all kinds of good information. And you all have one like this. You may not remember it, but you have one. If you can find it and you would like it updated, please bring it in, and we will get that done. Or we shot a bear. Amy will get that.
She's smiling.
So I thought, it's not something that you carry around all the time, but it's a good source of information, and it's got everything we talk about or the cabinet talks about. We have copies in here so you can refer to it, and a lot of the alphabet soup, the acronyms, if you will, listed in here so you can sort of refresh your memory on what's going on. Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome. The Friday dinner is January 18th for the Faculty Senate dinner.
You put that in the minutes too, thank you. Okay, the ACT conference is coming up October 12th through the 14th. I was pleased to see that it's not 3 days, it's only 2. It meets Friday afternoon and again on Saturday morning until about 3 o'clock. Unfortunately, I'm not able to be there this year, but Eric's going to be there on Saturday, and Tracy's going to be there both on Friday and Saturday. She's not staying over, but she'll be there to represent us. The deadline was last Friday, and I did send out a reminder to everyone earlier, so I'm assuming that no one else is going. My assumption correct? Thank you. Thanks to Eric and to Tracy for keeping us front and center with that group and the Chancellor's office. I also sent out something from the current president asking, current president of ACT, asking that we consider self-nominating or nominating one of our cohorts to one of the offices there. The changes every 3 years, and this is the change. So if anyone's interested in serving on the executive board for the ACT, please let me know. I'd be most happy to submit your name. I was first vice president for 3 years. It's not really that much work. That one and the president is probably the most work because you're responsible, first vice president is responsible for getting the conference together each year. But you have a lot of help doing that, and Tira is excellent help. All of the meetings are teleconferenced, so you don't have to leave your home or your office. And so there's all kinds of reasons why we should keep a presence on that group. Like twisting arms. If you have second thoughts when you get home, please let me know. I'd be most happy to submit your name. Or if you'd like to nominate one of your colleagues, we'll see if we can convince them.
Olive, I think you and I are going to go on some fundraising.
Yes, you can see where we have learned it from.
Okay, I'm not getting much response here again. I think it's really important, you know. It was really helpful for us as an institution when I was on there and I got to know the chancellor so well. Remember, that paid off big time.
I will never forget.
And you know, we don't have that recognition with the current chancellor. So someone needs to step up and start that process.
And this current chancellor is trying to understand the ag tech sector. We had a great meeting, but anything that can help from your level with her as we do the heavy lifting at our level would be much appreciated. And she's looking to see how else governance works. So if I could put a plug in too.
Yes, and second vice president is really easy. You know, just name only basically, and listen to the teleconference.
See, who's not here?
Isn't Tracy going to the?
She's in Dublin. It's so mean.
She's in Dublin, yeah.
Yes, she is. Okay, but you know, I still think it's a good idea to get our name in on that group and get the tech section recognized, and because we've always had someone from the tech section on there. Okay, well, I may call a few. I haven't given up yet.
They're call screening over here.
I gotta leave my calls, I know.
I'll loan you my phone.
Good. You won't want mine, Marion, with me.
Oh, yes, my God. That's very funny.
Okay. Any other council members have a report? Any comments? Okay, hearing none. We'll go on to old business. Just the, we have participation on the following committees. We talked about it a little at our last meeting, and some of you expressed a preference, others did not. And I said I would make some decisions, so I have. You know me, I don't have too many problems doing that. So unless you have strong opinions, the advanced committee, office committee will be Susan Reitmeyer and Eric Stein. Enrollment Management Committee, Tracy and myself. And Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee, Ann Myers and Barbara DeCoco. And other great colleges to work for is Linda Cross and Rich. And Ag Study, Phil King is on that, and so we'll continue that. Is everyone okay with those assignments?
Yes, ma'am.
If not, say so now or forever hold your peace.
So we had talked about, I don't know if this is the same thing, the Pathways Task Force, Tracy?
That's the enrollment management.
Yeah. Okay.
It's broader because we're changing all of that, and we'll be more working with Bonnie and Caleb right now. Okay, Bonnie?
Okay, then the committees will stand for this year as they're listed. New business, election of officers. You know, every year we have, according to our bylaws, we do elect a vice chair and a secretary. Rich has been the secretary.
Hard job,
He can't
right?
spell your name for the last 2 years, and And Eric has been the vice chair. So it's, we can only serve in those, according to our bylaws, you can only serve in the committee for 2 years at a time. And then you have to step out for a year at least. So it's time to have a new group. And so I'd like to open the nominations for vice chair.
That would be my pleasure to nominate Susan Reitmeyer as vice chair.
Susan?
Okay.
Phil? Will you accept that if you're the elected one, Susan?
Yes.
Any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, we will cast a unanimous vote for Susan Reitmeyer as the vice chair for this year. We get to vote again next year, but you know, you're pretty well stuck for 2 years. Let me tell you. That's the way it works. Thank you, Susan. And for secretary, you're off the hook. For secretary?
I'd like to nominate Linda Cross for secretary.
Linda?
I'll accept.
Do I have a second?
You do?
Okay. Bill seconded it. And Linda it will accept it if nominated. Any other nominations? Okay, we'll cast a unanimous vote for Linda Cross for the secretary for this coming year. Yay. Thank you.
Yeah, how do we misspell it?
Congratulations, ladies.
And we asked the provost if we could have meeting dates for the advisory committees as rapidly as possible.
Sure.
So that we can get it on our calendars. Again, we like to know ahead of time so the council can sort of split up and cover them all. Okay, any other items to come before the group? I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session. Susan, a second?
Second.
Okay, and second by Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, then we will go into executive session and we'll come back and adjourn. And I'm asking Wendy and Scott to come in with us this time. Okay. Thank you.
Actually, and Bonnie.
And Bonnie?
And Bonnie.
Very good.
Stop it.